They were not heroes by the world's standards. They didn't command armies, rule nations, or build palaces. They were fishermen, tax collectors, zealots, ordinary men from ordinary towns, called into an extraordinary mission. They followed a man who healed the sick, calmed storms, and spoke of a kingdom not of this world. A man named Jesus. And when he died, they thought it was over. But then, they saw him alive. This changed everything. From that moment, the 12 apostles would never be the same. The men who once fled in fear became fearless. The ones who once doubted began to declare. The ones who once questioned everything began preaching with power and conviction. They carried a message they believed was worth their very lives. And for most of them, it cost exactly that. What follows is not just a history of how they died, but a reflection on how they lived, and why they chose death over silence. Their stories shaped the world we know today, and their legacy continues to speak through the centuries. Simon Peter, the man Jesus called the Rock, began his journey as a fisherman. Impulsive, passionate, and fiercely loyal, Peter was among the first called. He walked on water, declared Jesus to be the Christ, and then denied him 3 times. But grace restored him. After the resurrection, Peter emerged as the leader of the apostles. He preached with boldness at Pentecost and helped establish the early church in Jerusalem. But it didn't end there. Church tradition says Peter journeyed to Antioch and eventually to Rome, the heart of the empire. There he shepherded the growing Christian community in secret, during a time when being a Christian was punishable by death. Under Nero's reign, Christians became scapegoats for the burning of Rome. Peter was arrested and condemned. Knowing he would be crucified, he requested to be hung upside down, believing he was not worthy to die like his Lord. That image, Peter upside down on a cross, is one of the most powerful symbols of humility in the Christian faith. James, son of Zebedee, was one of the inner 3. He witnessed the transfiguration, the raising of Jairus' daughter, and Jesus' agony in Gethsemane. His zeal and fiery spirit earned him and his brother the nickname, Sons of Thunder. James was the first apostle to be martyred. Around 44 AD, Herod Agrippa arrested him in Jerusalem. According to the Book of Acts, he was killed by the sword. Though his death is recorded briefly, early Christian writers add a remarkable detail. The guard assigned to watch over James saw his courage, his faith, and his unwavering love for Christ. So moved was this soldier that he declared himself a believer, and was executed beside him. John, the brother of James, also called a son of thunder, walked a different path. He was the only apostle to stand at the cross as Jesus died. He was entrusted with the care of Mary, the mother of Jesus. He became a pillar in the early church, known not just for his leadership but for his love. According to early tradition, John was arrested in Rome and thrown into boiling oil. He emerged unharmed. Astonished, his persecutors exiled him to Patmos, a barren island where prisoners were sent to be forgotten. But God had not forgotten John. There he received visions of heaven and history, judgment and restoration. These visions became the book of Revelation. Later, John returned to Ephesus where he lived to old age. He is believed to have died a natural death, the only apostle to do so. His final words to the church, according to tradition, were simple and powerful: "Little children, love one another." Andrew, Peter's brother, is known for bringing others to Jesus. After the resurrection, he traveled through regions of Scythia and Greece. In Patras, his preaching drew the ire of local authorities. Arrested and condemned to die, he was crucified. But instead of the traditional cross, he was bound to an X-shaped one, his arms and legs stretched out diagonally. For 2 days as he hung in agony, he continued to preach to those who passed by. His unwavering voice in the face of death led many to believe. Thomas, the one often remembered for doubting, made one of the boldest proclamations of faith: "My Lord and my God." He took the gospel east, to Parthia, Persia, and eventually India. There he preached among Hindu and Buddhist cultures, introducing the message of Christ to new ears. In Mylapore, near modern-day Chennai, Thomas was attacked and killed with a spear while in prayer. His tomb became a sacred site, and to this day millions of Indian Christians trace their roots back to the apostle they call Mar Thoma. Philip was known for his missionary zeal. After ministering in Asia Minor, he arrived in Hierapolis. There he challenged the worship of pagan gods and healed many. But when he converted the wife of a Roman proconsul, he was arrested. Refusing to renounce Christ, he was crucified. Some accounts say he was also stoned. Before his death, he is said to have prayed for his persecutors. His life reminds us that the gospel always confronts the powers of the age, and sometimes, it costs everything. Bartholomew, also called Nathanael, was the apostle Jesus described as a man in whom there is no deceit. After the resurrection, he traveled widely, possibly as far as India, Ethiopia, and Armenia. In Armenia, he is said to have converted the king. But the king's brother, fearing the rise of Christianity, had Bartholomew arrested. What followed was brutal. He was flayed alive, his skin stripped from his body, and then beheaded. His martyrdom became a rallying cry for the Armenian church, which would endure centuries of persecution. Matthew, the former tax collector, wrote the gospel that bears his name. He is believed to have ministered in Ethiopia and other parts of Africa. Tradition says he was killed while leading a church service, stabbed in the back by a soldier. Others say he was burned or beheaded. What matters is that the man once hated for his betrayal of his people became a voice of mercy and truth. James, son of Alphaeus, also called James the Less, remains one of the quieter figures. He led the Jerusalem church and was deeply respected for his holiness. According to Hegesippus, he was thrown from the pinnacle of the temple. When the fall didn't kill him, he was struck with a club until he died. His faith, even in silence, shaped the earliest Christian community. Jude, also known as Thaddeus, traveled with Simon the Zealot through Syria and Mesopotamia. Together, they spread the gospel in regions hostile to the message of Christ. Jude was eventually martyred, beaten to death with a club. His legacy lives on in the letter he wrote, encouraging believers to contend for the faith. Simon the Zealot, once part of a revolutionary group that sought to overthrow Rome, found in Jesus a different kind of kingdom. He preached the gospel in Egypt, possibly Libya and Persia. One tradition says he was sawn in half. Another says he was crucified. Either way, his transformation from political rebel to kingdom servant speaks volumes about the power of grace. Judas Iscariot's story is one of tragedy and betrayal. After selling Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, he was overcome with guilt. The Gospels say he returned the money and hanged himself. His actions opened the door for Matthias to be chosen. Matthias, the apostle chosen to replace Judas, ministered faithfully in Judea and possibly Ethiopia. He was eventually stoned and beheaded, a sobering reminder that even those who come late to the mission must be ready to pay the price. These men were not perfect. They doubted. They stumbled. They ran. But when faced with the truth of the resurrection, they gave everything. Not one recanted. Not one turned back. The story of their deaths is more than a catalogue of martyrdom. It is the foundation of the church. Through their blood, the gospel spread. Through their sacrifice, nations were reached. Their voices still echo through the ages. Christ is risen. Christ is Lord. And Christ is worth everything. Their legacy challenges us today. In a world of comfort, will we stand for truth? In a culture of silence, will we speak with boldness? In the face of hardship, will we follow Christ no matter the cost? These are not just stories from long ago. They are living testimonies, and they ask each of us one question: will you follow, even to the end?